se manifeste. Permets que ton œuvre s'accomplisse et que ton serviteur soit uniquement consacré à ton service. Lord, grant that thy sovereign power may manifest. Grant that thy work may be done, and thy servitor consecrated solely to thy service.
ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्म हविः ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मेवतेन गन्तव्यं ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना एतत् सर्वं ॐ ब्रह्मार्पणमस्तु ॐ ब्रह्मार्पणमस्तु ॐ नीलाम्बजगदाभिरामनयनां गौराङ्गीं शरदिन्दुसुन्दरमुखीं विस्मयनां बिम्बाधरां कारुण्यामृतवर्षिणीं हरिहरब्रह्मादिवीरवन्दितां ध्यायेत् सर्वजनेप्सितार्थफलदां वन्दे मीरां जगत्प्रसूं वन्दे मीरां जगत्प्रसूं मीरा नामैव मम जीवनम् मीरा नामैव मम जीवनम् मीरा ममैव शरणम् मीरा ममैव शरणम् मीरा मम शरणम् मीरा Last annulment.
Mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Om Anandamay Chaitanyamay Satyamay Parame. Om She the delight, She the consciousness, She the truth, She the supreme. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 1, The Book of Beginnings, Canto 3, The Yoga of the Soul's Release, page 31. Even his first steps broke our small earth bounds and loitered in a vaster, freer air. In hands sustained by a transfiguring might, he caught up lightly like a giant's bough, left slumbering in a sealed and secret cave, the powers that sleep unused in man within. He made of miracle a normal act, and turned to a common part of divine works, magnificently natural at this height, efforts that would shatter the strength of mortal hearts, pursued in a royalty of mighty ease, aims too sublime for nature's daily will. The gifts of the Spirit crowding came to him. They were his life's pattern and his privilege. A pure perception lent its lucent joy, its intimate vision waited not to think. It enveloped all nature in a single glance. It looked into the very self of things. Deceived no more by form, he saw the soul. In beings it knew what lurked to them unknown. It seized the idea in mind, the wish in the heart. It plucked out from grave folds of secrecy the motives which from their own sight men hide. He felt the beating life in other men invade him with their happiness and their grief, their love, their anger, their unspoken hopes, entered in currents or in pouring waves into the immobile ocean of his calm. He heard the inspired sound of his own thoughts re-echoed in the vault of other minds. The world's thought streams traveled into his ken. His inner self grew near to others' selves and bore a kinship's weight, a common tie, yet stood untouched, king of itself alone. A magical accord quickened and attuned to ethereal symphonies the old earthly strings. It raised the servitors of mind and life to be happy partners in the soul's response. Tissue and nerve were turned to sensitive chords, records of lustre and ecstasy. It made the body's means the spirit's acolytes. A heavenlier function with a finer mode lit with its grace man's outward earthliness. The soul's experience of its deeper sheets no more slept drugged by matter's dominance. In the dead wall, closing us from wider self into a secrecy of apparent sleep, the mystic track beyond our waking thoughts, a door parted, built in by matter's force, releasing things unseized by earthly sense. A world unseen, unknown by outward mind, appeared in the silent spaces of the soul. He sat in secret chambers, looking out into the luminous countries of the unborn, where all things dreamed by the mind are seen and true, and all that the life longs for is drawn close. He saw the perfect in their starry homes, wearing the glory of a deathless form, laying in the arms of the eternal peace, wrapped in the heartbeats of God ecstasy. He lived in the mystic space where thought is born and will is nursed by an ethereal power, and fed on the white milk of the eternal strength, and fed on the white milk of the eternal strengths till it grows into the likeness of a God. March 29, 1914, the meeting day of our Divine Mother with our Lord, Sri Aurobindo. On March 7, 1914, the Mother was aboard the Kagamaru sailing for Pondicherry. Our Divine Mother writes, "He whom we saw yesterday is on earth." Our Divine Mother wrote in her prayers and meditations about her meeting with our Lord Sri Aurobindo on 29 March 1914. Our Divine Mother says, "Exactly my vision." Then she narrated much later, she says, "He whom she saw, seeing in her vision since 1904, corresponded exactly with Sri Aurobindo." In her own words, our Divine Mother says, "I came here, but something in me wanted to meet Sri Aurobindo all alone the first time. Richard went to him in the morning, and I had an appointment for the afternoon. He was living in the house that's now part of the second dormitory, the old guest house. I climbed up the stairway. He was standing there, waiting for me at the top of the stairs. Exactly my vision. Dressed the same way, in the same position, in profile, his head held high. He turned his head towards me, and I saw in his eyes that it was he." The two things clicked. Gesture of instantaneous shock. The inner experience immediately became one with the outer experience, and there was a fusion, the decisive shock. But this was merely the beginning of my vision. Only after a series of experiences, a 10 months sojourn in Pondicherry, 5 years of separation, then return to Pondicherry and the meeting in the same house in the same way, did the end of the vision occur. I was standing just beside him. My head wasn't exactly on his shoulder, but where his shoulder was, I don't know how to explain. Physically, there were hardly any contact. We were standing side by side like that, gazing out through the open window. Then together, at exactly the same moment, we felt, now the realization will be accomplished. That the seal was set and the realization would be accomplished. I felt the thing descending massively within me with the same certainty I had felt in my vision. From that moment on, there was nothing to say, no words, nothing. We knew it was that. Our Divine Mother met Sri Aurobindo again the next day, that is on 30th of March 1914, but at this time Richard was there. The Divine Mother narrated the meeting in the following words. I was sitting there on the veranda. There was a table in front of him and Richard was on the other side facing him. They began talking. Myself, I was seated at his feet, very small, with the table just in front of me. It came to my forehead, which gave me a little protection. I didn't say anything. I didn't think anything, try anything, want anything. I merely sat near him. When I stood up half an hour later, he had put silence in my hair. That's all. Without even my having asked him, perhaps even without his trying. Oh, I had tried for years. I had tried to catch silence in my head. I never succeeded. I could detach myself from it, but it would keep on turning. But at that moment, all the mental constructions, all the mental speculative structures, none of it remained, a big hole. and such a peaceful, such a luminous home. Afterwards, I kept very still so as not to disturb it. I didn't speak. Above all, I refrained from thinking and held it tight against me. I said to myself, make it last, make it last, make it last. For years, from 1912 to 1914, I did endless exercises, all kinds of things, even pranayama, if it would only shut up. Really, if it only be quiet. I was able to go out. That wasn't difficult, but inside it kept turning. This lasted about half an hour. I remained there. I heard the noise of their conversation, but I wasn't listening. And then when I got up, I no longer knew anything. I no longer thought anything. I no longer had any mental construction. Everything was gone, absolutely gone blank, as if I had just been born. Referring to this experience, she has also said the following. It was in 1910 that I had a reversal of consciousness. That is the first contact with the higher divine, and it completely changed my life. From that moment on, I was conscious that all one does is the expression of the indwelling divine will, but it is the divine will at the very center of oneself, although for a while there remained an activity in the physical mind. This was still 2 or 3 days after I saw Sri Aurobindo for the first time in 1914, and it never started up again. Silence settled, and the consciousness was established above the head. In the first experience, the consciousness was established in the psychic depths of the being, and from that poise issued the feeling of no longer doing anything but what the divine wanted. It was the consciousness that the divine will was all powerful and that there was no longer any personal will, although there was still some mental activity and everything had to be made silent. In 1914, it was silenced, and the consciousness was established above the head. Here, the heart, and here, above the head, the constant connection. The connection is constant. It would be rewarding to go through her journal, prayers, and meditations to get an intimate idea of what she felt, our Divine Mother, and experienced during those days of her early meetings with our Lord Sri Aurobindo. On March 30th, 1914, she has mentioned this in her writings and prayers and meditations, and she says, in the presence of those who are integrally thy servitors, those who have attained the perfect consciousness of thy presence, I became aware that I am still far, very far from what I yearn to realize. And I know that the highest I can conceive, the noblest and purest, is still dark and ignorant beside what I should conceive. But this perception, far from being depressing, stimulates and strengthens the aspiration, the energy, the will to triumph over all obstacles so as to be last identified with thy law and thy work. Gradually, the horizon becomes distinct. The path grows clear, and we move towards a greater and greater certitude. It matters little that there are thousands of beings plunged in the densest darkness, in the densest ignorance. He whom we saw yesterday is on earth. His presence is enough to prove that a day will come when darkness shall be transformed into light, when thy reign shall indeed be established upon earth. O Lord, divine builder of this marvel, my heart overflows with joy and gratitude. When I think of it, my hope has no bounds. My adoration is beyond all words. My reverence is silent.
विद्याय शोचिषे विदमतीव्रं जुहोतन अग्नये